Hello everyone, it's Ron again, and the next video is going to be on Phoenixverb and on R2. These are the next two plugins that I noticed are included in this bundle that I've been going over from iZotope. In this case from Exponential Audio, which iZotope acquired. And I figured I'd do them both in one video because they're very similar. So let's start with the things they have in common. If you look here, starting on Phoenixverb, there's this resize button, which I think is actually pretty cool. It makes it just really big, so you don't have to worry about not being able to see. The next thing you have is this cutoff threshold. If audio goes below a certain amount as far as gain, then the plugin will deactivate itself so it won't take up CPU. And that's really cool. Moving along, in both cases, if you click here, it shows a live display of the audio that's passing through it. And both of them have these filter out frequencies. So the audio that's going through the reverb as it's coming out, it gets low passed. This is how loud the reverb section itself is. And the level of early reflections, how loud they are in decibels. If you look at R2, in that section, R2 has reverb level, and it's got the frequency filter going out, but it also has a filter for the early reflections in addition to the level. Store, reload, compare, those are to save presets. So let's look back at this. The next section I'm going to look at, it's going to be right here. You got the wetness knob for how much of the signal is reverb, wet versus dry. Pre-delay, which is how long after the signal hits the reverb that the reverb actually plays. And reverb time, which is just how long it lasts. It's the same as decay. So we move to this, the Reverb Attack. Now to explain the concept of what an attack time is in terms of ADR, I'm going to use this mini synth that's right here. So you'll notice that if I play a note, there's immediate response. What attack time means is that a sound that has a higher attack time is going to take a longer time to get to its maximum volume. So this is no attack time. It's immediately at its highest volume. But as I increase the attack time, you'll notice that it crescendos. So that's the easiest way to help understand that. The reverb attack is the same thing. It's how long the reverb takes to get to its highest attack, or well, its loudest volume rather. So if you turn this all the way down, it does something similar to what I was just saying, and it decays from its loudest at the beginning. If you turn it all the way up, it does the opposite. It starts off low when the reverb is initialized, and then it gets louder until it reaches the highest point that it will. This envelope is just how long that effect is going to last. And this creates a low pass filter. And the portions that are more red are the portions being low pass. It always happens at the end. So the beginning is never going to be as low passed as that. It's like if it's being low passed over time. Here you got hall, chamber, plate, which are different reverb types. And this is the type of diffusion that you have in the diffusion amount, which basically changes the timbre of the reverb. So the next thing is the Reverb Tail. So to demonstrate this, I'm going to use the mini synth again. So let's say we have a sound that starts immediately or has whatever attack time. The tail is the part of the reverb you hear that decays over time. So to make that obvious what that might sound like, take the sustain down, take this decay down, increase the release, increase the decay, right there is the nature of reverb, the way it decays. And so that's what you're affecting when you're affecting the tail. So it's very similar. I call these right here the 5. This is how far away the reverb sounds like it is, because obviously there would be a greater amount of reverb if a sound travels further, because it reverberates off a wall and bounces back to you, and that's what you hear. But sound moves so fast, you hear it all as one sound, even though it's doing it thousands of times. Here, actually, we got the crossover, and it's just basically, you have what you call bass boosting when you use reverb plugins. So you might want to emphasize the bass. This controls where the high frequency starts, and this controls whether the reverb is lighter or darker, meaning that it's going to emphasize the higher frequencies or the lower ones. This controls the stereo image, so that's going to be how wide it is, and that's going to have an effect on mono compatibility. Now let's look at early. The early reflections of a reverb are like delay or echoes. Essentially, there will be sort of a transient sound that echoes because there's going to be a reflection that is louder than the rest. And so that's what you're controlling here. It behaves in a similar way to the Reverb Attack. It's got the same type of thing. So it has this low pass filter. But it's pretty cool because ordinarily, like in nature, the sound will strike, say, a wall, and then it will go down. The loudest one will be here, the loudest reverberation. But you can change it so it actually increases. And this is just how long that early time lasts for. And that completes Phoenixverb. So let's move to R2, which essentially it's got all of these same things. Reverb Attack, Reverb Tail, early. They're exactly the same. And I like that about it. It has the same thing right here with the processing threshold. And of course it's got the minus button, which is like most important to me because I think that's just so cool. But it also has chorus. So you got 4 different types of chorus to choose from here. And these two on the left are going to affect pitch variation of the chorus more. So it's going to sound like it's changing pitch more than these two, which they sound pretty cool. If you get the plugin, you just have to hear it. It's hard to describe, but they actually sound pretty awesome. Here you have a noise gate, and a noise gate's job is to turn off the audio or mute the signal when it goes below a certain volume. So here you have the threshold, which is -42. If it goes below that, then the gate will turn off the reverb. So let's see, there's an example. If you look at this, you're going to notice that the green light turns on. While the green light is on, the reverb is still being allowed to pass. While the yellow light is on, the signal is above the threshold. So when they both turn off, it cuts the reverb. So right now, if there was a sound that was playing, the plugin is noticing that the sound, because there is none, is below -42 decibels. And so it's muting itself. That's what this means. And that's all I have prepared for today. If you do have these 2 plugins, they're pretty awesome because the point of Exponential audio plugins is to give you an insane amount of control over the reverb that you make. And it's really cool that they have these thresholds so that the plugin will turn himself off. Because imagine if it's an entire mix and then later down the line you're like, well, I want to add something else, but then you don't have the CPU power necessary. You could use these, they'll turn themselves off, and it might help you to save the amount that you need to finish the song without having to do something like consolidate or transform a pattern into audio or something like that. And so I think that's pretty cool. It's actually very significant. But that wraps up everything I have for today. And if you stuck around to this part of the video, thank you for watching as always, and have an awesome day.